Hey guys, how we doing? This KL. Just give folks a couple minutes to jump on. And that was Earn It by The Weeknd. Alright. So, I know I said this week, thank you for the hearts. I know I said this week I was going to discuss my books, but with today being 9/11 and folks are remembering what they were doing 14 years ago, I decided to change what I was going to discuss to give my my remembrance of this tragic day. I mean, it's going to be going on all day. Everyone's going to be telling their stories and reminiscing, and I felt I need to, hey, blessings, blessed Friday, definitely. 14 years ago, when this tragedy happened, I was doing exactly what I was doing today. I was in the classroom with middle school students. I happened to be teaching at that time in Canarsie, Brooklyn. And I remember a colleague of mine. Now, I'm about 6 foot. I'm a big dude. I'm 6'1.5". I'm big. And I remember a friend of mine who was about 6'4", another big guy. And I used to always joke and laugh because we used to always joke about the heat. I remember seeing him walk by my classroom and I seen him emotional. And I was wondering to myself, why is he crying? And he said to me, a plane just hit one of the towers. Thank you. Appreciate that, Shay. And I said, what? So the period ended. We all went up to my office. I had an office in the gym. And we had about 16 people piled into the office, watching the news, trying to get information about what was going on. And one of the things that was so, blessings from the UK, hey, shout out to the UK, was that everyone was trying to get on their cell phones and only certain people could get service. I believe those that had Nextel, that had the walkie-talkie features at that time, but cell phones was out, television signals was scrambled, so we were trying to find channels. And with all of us watching television, we see the second plane. Blessings from Italy. Yes, shout out to Europe. Shout out to Europe. Hey, blessings. We see the second plane hit the second building. So now we're all in shock, but we still have a school day going on. And we have over 1,400 children in this building that we have to take care of. So the principal called an emergency meeting of all the teachers who did not have class at that moment. And we were instructed to go about things as a regular day. How is that possible? And the reason why we had to do that was because we could not tell the children what had happened because we didn't know which kids had parents in the trade center. And the worst thing a teacher could ever have to do is stand in front of nervous children. They see the nervousness in the adults. They see that the movement in the building is not the norm. Children are very perceptive. They see that all of us, what do you think about the theory that America are organized? That's not even my focus right now. I'm not even getting into conspiracy theories. That's not the focus of this scope. I appreciate the question. It's not even an issue for me. That's not what this is about. I'm sorry. Because evil men going to do evil things. So regardless whether it was Americans, Middle East, I don't care who it was, people died. So that's not a focus right now. My focus is when you have to stand in front of 30 children who are scared, and then you have to lie to them that you don't know what's going on when you do. And then every 2 to 3 minutes, not too long after the incident, someone would knock on the door and the child had to take their stuff and go because their parents came to pick them up. And the kids see these departures, which again is a departure from the normal routine. It was bedlam inside our heads, but we had to remain calm because schools are a safe haven. And as I said earlier, we did not know how many children had lost someone in this tragedy. So when I had my break, I left to go pick up my own children to take them home. And I remember telling my mother-in-law at the time that I was nervous because I wasn't sure what this was. And then I remember my son at that time, 9 years old, saying, "You're scared, Daddy? You're not scared of anything." And I seen him grow even more fearful. So I had to gather myself and make him understand, no, I'm not scared. I just said I'm worried. I had to change it. But inside, there's no way to imagine it. And I hope I never have to go through it again. And I remember when I told my son everything is going to be okay. Again, I'm lying because I have no idea. Inside, you don't know if we're at war. You don't know. Your mind goes through so many crazy things. But I knew that I had to be whatever for these children. So when I came back to school, I thought about my son and I said, well, if my son is reacting that way, all these other children are going to react the same way. So I attempted to be festive, and it worked. And we all did. We just tried to keep the kids in a very happy mindset. And then we got the word from the Department of Education that all schools were going to stay open late in the event that children didn't have any way to go home or anyone at home to go to. Well, it turns out in my building, the assistant principal lost her husband of 31 years. He had been working as a fire captain for 32 years. Another coworker lost a nephew. Another coworker lost somebody, and 15 of our children lost parents, with one of our children losing both parents. So here it was, 8:30, 8:45 at night, and we have 15 children in the building that we're trying to make arrangements for somebody to come pick them up because their parents weren't home. Many of them went home and had to come back because no one came home. And, I was sitting in class today, and some of the students were saying that they were too young to remember. And I said, you know what? Consider yourself blessed that you don't have that memory, because it is very difficult. Now, I didn't lose anyone, but when you are close to people that have, it's the same as if you have. When I think of those children's faces, when you're in a room full of 14 and 15 kids, ages 11 to 13, who are emotional, and there's nothing you can do, and then at the same time, you know what's going on out in the world, and so much is happening that you can't control out there either. Let me tell you something. For all of you folks who think that this is not a time to remember, and as it was mentioned earlier, I don't care about the conspiracy parts. I don't care about any of it, because you know what? The Lord will work all that out in the end. I worry about those 15 children, what they've become as they've gotten older, and I pray that they've gotten themselves to where they can explain to their children, if they've had them, how they lost their grandparent or parents. And when I walk into a school, I never take the days that I'm inside of school for granted. So when you see me do scopes and I say that this is my last year here in the Department of Education in New York, it is because so much has changed that it is very difficult to be able to educate the way that I know these children need it. But I will still be an advocate wherever I'm at for young adults, because that day will forever be a day that changed lives. And it didn't just change the world, the way we travel and other stuff like that. There are some people to this day that they will never emotionally heal because of the way their family was ripped away from them. And we got to be careful in how we speak about that day. If you weren't directly affected. My girlfriend, now wife, was in Lower Manhattan, left after the plane hit the first building, came home, and walked across the bridge like so many other people to rush home, because they weren't waiting for permission to leave their jobs. The jobs didn't matter because you had a building that was on fire. So to anybody watching this, take a minute and just stop and remember, so many lives were altered, affected that day in ways that we could never even start to fix. My assistant principal, God bless her, married 31 years and lose your husband. And she came to work 2 days later, and I said, why are you here? She said, I have no one at home. I'd rather be here around the kids. They need me. So she placed her own pain to the side to be there to try to help fix that pain with these children. 15 children, 15 lost their parents. And so I sometimes listen to folks and I hear how stoic they are when talking about that moment, or they get so fixed on the political aspect of that moment. I don't care. I don't care who put it into motion. It happened. And 15 students who the day before we were sitting around laughing and joking and everything is fine, no longer have someone in their lives who was supposed to take care of them, who was supposed to be there their whole lives. So when I take the time out to remember that time, there we go. We all need to remember. When I take this time out, and we should care about the lives more than politics, but politics plays a role in a lot of people's lives. It is what it is. But when I remember what those faces look like. I remember what those sounds sound like. And you don't shake that. And you don't get rid of that. When you see colleagues who are trying to explain to you who they lost but can't speak, or in shock on who they lost and are calling to phones that no longer are connected. When you see the look, all of us as parents, knowing that we still have to work and then still trying to figure out how we're going to take care of our own families. I just happen to be lucky enough that my children lived in the same area that I taught. But the look on my son's face when he said to me, I'm not scared of anything. So when he saw me scared, he became terrified. I didn't think about that until a week later. Thank you. That my son relied on me for so much. And it reminded me what my students relied on me for. And I never take that for granted. Some teachers do. They don't realize the power that they have as an educator. Me, never. Children that come into our care rely on us for so much more than just education with books and everything else. They rely on us for stability because we may be the only stability that they have. So we can't take that for granted. Many do, not me. And I'm not going to watch the festivities, and I'm not going to watch the videos and stuff like that, because there's only so much that, welcome back, Shay, there's only so much that I want to keep replaying that inside my head. But I would say to any of you that watch, understand that while that is going on, lives are changing with each second. We could see the smoke from Canarsie, but we still didn't know what was going on. We had children leave the building and come back and said, no one's home. What do you say to that? But come on, have a seat. And we had teachers hugging kids and still worried about their own children, but they couldn't get home because they had no way of getting home. We had everyone trying to make as many phone calls as possible, trying to reach aunts and uncles, but they're still dealing with whatever they're dealing with wherever they are in the city. And if there was any beauty to such a tragedy, it was the number of people who may have never spoke to each other, who knew ain't no time for petty differences now. We need to fix this or hold on to each other if there's more to come. And I know as a school we did that. And I know as a community we seen that. And then I seen it extended all around New York. And today in the classroom, one of the other teachers, she's from Long Island, and we were talking, and she said she remembered seeing people from all different backgrounds coming together because they knew it's what they had to do. So I don't ever want it to be said that we can't put these differences to the side and fix what's wrong. But it shouldn't take 3,000 deaths to be the trigger. So, my name is KL Belvin, and I wanted to take these couple of minutes to offer you what I experienced during 9/11. As I said, I did not lose anyone directly, but I lost and gained so much. And it helps keep me moving forward. So I don't ever worry about the politics of the job that I have. I don't worry about the politics of where they move me to teach. I'll fight all that another time. But the one thing I do when I walk into a school or when I walk into a classroom or I'm around kids, period, my job is to protect them in any way, even if it means lying to them. Because if lying to them is going to help keep them safe at that moment, well, then God forgive me. I take it that you understand why I'm doing it. Because they're too fragile to sometimes be given the truth at that moment. And then later on, you can sit down and have that conversation and explain why you lied. So, as I said, my name is KL Belvin. This was not the scope that was originally planned, but I hope that it helped, and I hope that it brought you some insight to what it was like being a New York City educator in the midst of one of the most tragic situations in this world's history. There's been many others, so I'm not lining them up. I'm just giving you what I've seen and what I've experienced. And I'm sorry if I have not acknowledged the hearts, and I'm sorry if I missed any of the comments that was said. I apologize. But I don't do this for the hearts. I still am not exactly sure what the hearts are for, other than to say that you're digging what I'm saying, but I appreciate it. And so, no, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to come and listen to me. As you go into this weekend, even if you didn't lose anybody, pray for those who did. Pray for those who were affected. And even if you don't pray, take a moment and just wish those who suffered something to be better than they were 14 years ago. Because no matter what you think, when someone is snatched out of your life, I don't even think there's a time frame on the healing. I don't think you ever really do heal. You just keep going forward. And remember that it wasn't just adults. There were hundreds of thousands of children. And hundreds of thousands of children, because we have 1 million children in the system here in New York City. I happen to be with 1,400 that day in the school that I was in. And as I said, we stayed that night with the 15 who lost their parents, as well as the co-workers who lost their family. So again, I thank you for taking the time to listen to me. Please share if you like with your friends, family, whoever, and I hope that it brings some type of comfort or some type of positive to who all that sees. And I'm sure I don't know about later, but sometime tomorrow, Sunday, I'll get on with a scope about what I usually talk about and a more upbeat thing. And as I get myself together, I still actually have to go and teach in another 10 minutes to finish out the last 2 hours of the school day. I just wanted to come out to my car and do this scope while it was fresh on my mind, because we had just got finished having a conversation in the class, and a lot of students were too young to. They even said, we don't remember. One kid said, why should we remember? Because who wants to keep remembering that pain? I had to tip my hat to him, because there's some truth to what he was saying. Respect. Thank you. Respect to you also. And to all my guys from different parts of the world. And actually, I appreciate that. I actually bug out when I see all the different parts around the country that people tuning in. But I appreciate all of you. And I appreciate the hearts. And again, like I said, pray for those who had to deal with something directly. Pray for those who dealt with it indirectly. And if you don't pray, that's fine. Just wish those who are dealing with this and who maybe have not gotten themselves together, wish them well. Wish them that they get themselves upright and that hole in their heart somehow gets a little smaller. I don't think it'll ever completely close. And that's all we can do, is to keep going forward and live for those that are living, and trust that those that are no longer with us are in a better place. Take care. God bless.